For 47 years, a staircase inside Elvis Presley's Graceland mansion in Memphis has served as an invisible barrier between public history and private grief. Millions of Elvis fans have walked through that Tennessee landmark since August 16, 1977, the day the King of Rock and Roll died. They have seen his gold records, his jumpsuits, even the jungle room where he recorded his final tracks. But not one of them has climbed those stairs. Now Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter and the new owner of Graceland, is finally breaking her silence about what has been preserved upstairs all this time. The upstairs of Graceland is not just another wing of a famous house. It is a sealed capsule, untouched since that August day in 1977, when Elvis Presley took his last breath. His bedroom sits exactly as he left it. The bathroom where he died remains unchanged. Even the record on his turntable is the same one he was listening to before everything stopped. There is a styrofoam cup still sitting on a bookshelf. His bed is made. Books are stacked high beside it, all religious texts he was reading in those final days. Why has this area stayed locked for nearly 5 decades? The answer is not what most people assume. When Graceland opened to the public in 1982, over 600,000 visitors began flooding through each year. It became the second most visited home in America, right behind the White House. Tour guides lead groups through the dining room, the television room, the famous jungle room with its green shag carpet covering even the ceiling. But when those tours reach the base of the staircase, they stop. A velvet rope marks the boundary. Beyond it, silence. Priscilla Presley made that decision deliberately. The upstairs was Elvis's sanctuary, the one place he could escape the world that constantly demanded pieces of him. He installed a security wall with a one-way mirror on the first-floor landing, complete with cameras so he could see who was downstairs without being seen himself. Even his closest friends from the Memphis Mafia did not go up there unless personally invited. According to those who knew him, Elvis once said something that still governs Graceland's policy today. "Even if I'm dead, nobody will go upstairs." But Riley has been upstairs. So has her mother, Lisa Marie Presley, before she died in 2023. In fact, Lisa Marie used to bring her children to stay at Graceland, and they would wait upstairs while tours ran below. She described a strange routine. The tours started at 9 in the morning and ended at 4 in the afternoon. If they did not leave early enough, they could get trapped upstairs until the last visitor left. Security would bring them McDonald's while they waited, stuck in rooms frozen in 1977. Lisa Marie had a complicated relationship with those upstairs rooms. She called them a creepy shrine, admitting the preserved space felt eerie. Nothing was touched. The carpet is the same. My room is the same. Yet she also described it as the safest place in the world for her. That is where she and her father spent countless hours together. He would set up a little chair in her room and they would watch television, just the two of them, away from everyone else, while Vernon Presley and Priscilla handled business downstairs. The second-floor layout tells its own story. Elvis's bedroom sits in the southwest corner, connecting to his dressing room and bathroom in the northwest. Lisa Marie's childhood bedroom is in the northeast corner. The southeast holds what served as his private office. There is also an attic. The hallways connecting these rooms are narrow, too narrow to accommodate the crowds that pour through Graceland daily. Opening the upstairs to tours would require adding a second staircase as an exit, remodeling the hallways, and fundamentally altering the space. Nobody in the Presley family wants that. Only a handful of people have been granted access upstairs since Elvis died. Nicolas Cage went up there during his marriage to Lisa Marie. Michael Jackson also went upstairs. Director Baz Luhrmann spent 15 minutes upstairs while researching his Elvis biopic. Angie Marchese, Graceland's Vice President of Archives and Exhibits, is one of the few who regularly enters those rooms as part of her job preserving them. What she found up there recently shocked even her, despite years of careful preservation work. During the premiere of the Elvis movie, Austin Butler asked to see the upstairs. Lisa Marie took him up, along with Riley. Months later, Marchese went up to pull items for an exhibit in London. She was sitting on the floor of Elvis's bedroom when she flipped the bedspread, There, tucked under the bed, was a pair of blue slippers. They had been there since 1977. Even Marchese, who had been in that room countless times, had never noticed them. But Lisa Marie knew. She had always known they were there. Those slippers, sitting exactly where Elvis left them the morning he died, represented something profound to her. Marchese said you can almost see him rolling out of bed, and they are right there. That is what the upstairs really is. Not a museum exhibit, not a tourist attraction. It is the last physical evidence of Elvis Presley as a person, not a legend. And what Riley Keough discovered about her mother's connection to that space reveals why keeping it sealed matters more than anyone outside the family understood. Riley grew up understanding something most people never could. Graceland was not just a landmark. It was the place where her mother felt closest to the father she lost at 9 years old. Every object upstairs carried weight. Every preserved detail mattered. The religious books stacked high next to Elvis's bed, the styrofoam cup still sitting on a bookshelf, the record player with the last album he ever listened to still on the turntable. These were not museum pieces to Lisa Marie. They were anchors. Riley has said her hope is simple. Continue what her grandmother Priscilla started and what her mother carried forward. Preserve the family home, not as a spectacle, but as what it actually is. A house where someone lived, loved, struggled, and died. When a Los Angeles judge named Riley the sole owner of Graceland in August 2023, she inherited more than real estate. She inherited a responsibility that had already shaped her entire childhood. She knows what it is like to be trapped upstairs while strangers walk through the rooms below. She has experienced the surreal disconnect of eating McDonald's delivered by security guards while tourists photograph her grandfather's jumpsuit collection one floor down. Over 600,000 people visit Graceland every year. None of them see what Riley has seen. But here is what matters. Riley is not interested in changing that. She could monetize the upstairs, film a documentary crew walking through Elvis's bedroom, sell exclusive access to the highest bidder. The financial incentive is enormous, yet she has chosen the opposite path. She has maintained the exact same boundaries her mother and grandmother established. The upstairs remains sealed. No cameras, no exceptions. Even when the Elvis movie brought renewed global attention to Graceland, Riley held firm. When Austin Butler needed to understand Elvis for his role, Lisa Marie made an exception. She took him upstairs with Riley beside her. That visit lasted maybe 20 minutes. Then the door locked again. Baz Luhrmann, directing the entire film, got 15 minutes total. That is the level of protection this family maintains. Why does this matter so much to them? Because Elvis himself made his wishes clear. Even when he was alive, that upstairs area was sacred. Friends from the Memphis Mafia did not wander up there uninvited. Family members asked permission. Elvis installed a security wall with a one-way mirror on the first-floor landing. He positioned cameras so he could see who was downstairs without being seen himself. The message was unmistakable. This space is mine. He reportedly said that even if he died, nobody would go upstairs. And for nearly 50 years, the Presley family has honored that wish. Not because they are hiding anything scandalous, not because there is some dark secret locked away, but because respecting someone's privacy does not end when their life does. Think about what that means. In an era where everything gets documented, shared, and monetized, the Presley family has protected a space that could generate millions in additional revenue. They have resisted pressure from fans, media, and probably their own financial advisors. They have maintained this boundary through multiple generations, even as ownership passed from Priscilla to Lisa Marie to Riley. That kind of consistency is rare. It reveals something about how they view Elvis, not as a brand to be maximized, but as a person who deserves dignity. The upstairs is not a mystery to be solved. It is a private space that should stay private. Riley understands this in her bones. She has spoken about preservation, not exploitation. She speaks about honoring her grandfather's humanity, not just his legend. But preservation is not passive. It is deliberate work. The second floor requires constant environmental monitoring, temperature control, humidity management, and regular inspections to prevent deterioration. Angie Marchese, the vice president of archives and exhibits, carries this responsibility daily. She is one of the few people with regular access, and even she moves through those rooms with reverence. When she discovered those blue slippers under Elvis's bed, she understood immediately why Lisa Marie never mentioned them. Some details are too intimate to share. Some objects hold meaning that cannot be explained to strangers. Those slippers were not hidden. They were just there, exactly where Elvis left them the morning he died. Lisa Marie knew about them her entire life. She had probably seen them 1,000 times. They were part of her private geography of grief, and now Riley carries that same knowledge. She has walked through those rooms countless times. She knows which floorboards creak. She knows where the light falls at different times of day. She knows the exact shade of the carpet, unchanged since 1977. She has inherited not just ownership, but intimate familiarity with a space most people will only ever imagine. The question is not whether Riley will ever open the upstairs to the public. She has already answered that. She will not. The real question is what happens next. Because Riley is not just preserving the past, she is deciding how Elvis's legacy evolves into the future. And what she has revealed about that vision has surprised even longtime Graceland observers. Riley's vision goes beyond simply keeping doors locked. She is transforming how people understand Graceland without compromising its sacred boundaries. Her approach is surgical, deliberate. She is expanding educational partnerships with universities, turning Graceland into a case study for scholars examining fame, cultural identity, and the American South in the 20th century. Students do not need to see Elvis's bedroom to understand his impact. They need context, analysis, and access to materials that illuminate rather than invade. She is also pushing digital preservation forward. Not virtual reality tours of the upstairs. Nothing that cheap. Instead, her team is scanning every handwritten lyric, every set list, every letter Elvis wrote using high-resolution technology that captures even the pressure of his pen on paper. These files will be available to researchers, historians, and educators. The goal is not spectacle, it is scholarship. But there is something else Riley is doing that nobody expected. She is quietly changing the narrative around Elvis's final years. For decades, the story focused on decline, pills, weight, isolation. The tragic ending in that upstairs bathroom. Riley is not erasing that reality, but she is adding dimension to it. She is highlighting the religious books stacked beside his bed, the meditation practices he developed, and the spiritual searching that consumed him. She wants people to see a man wrestling with existence, not just spiraling toward death. That shift matters. How we remember someone shapes their legacy. Riley has decided Elvis deserves to be remembered as more than his ending. Over 600,000 people visit Graceland every year. They walk through the Jungle Room. They stand before the gold records. They file past the jumpsuits and the cars. Most of them pause at the staircase leading up. They look at that boundary, that locked door, and something shifts. The mansion suddenly feels different, less like a museum, more like a home someone still occupies. That's intentional. Riley understands that mystery creates connection. When everything is revealed, nothing remains sacred. The upstairs stays closed not to frustrate fans, but to honor the man who lived there. Some spaces aren't meant for crowds. Her mother understood this too. Lisa Marie spent her childhood in those upstairs rooms. She'd sit with Elvis watching television, his chair positioned in her bedroom doorway. She knew every corner, every object, every unchanged detail. As an adult, she'd return with her own children. They'd stay overnight, trapped upstairs until the tours ended at 4 in the afternoon. Security would bring them McDonald's. They'd wait in the same rooms where Elvis spent his final days, surrounded by the same furniture, the same carpet, the same stillness. Lisa Marie called it a shrine. She also called it the safest place in the world. Riley inherited that contradiction. The upstairs is both comforting and eerie, a time capsule and a tomb, a private sanctuary and a public obsession. She navigates these tensions by staying focused on her core principle. Preservation means protecting what mattered to Elvis, even when the world demands more. So when fans ask for access, she says no. When documentaries request footage, she declines. When auction houses offer millions for personal items, she refuses. This isn't about money. It's about maintaining the last boundary Elvis drew around himself. The estate generates substantial revenue, licensing deals, merchandise, tour tickets, brand partnerships. Riley could easily justify opening the upstairs by pointing to financial benefits: additional ticket tiers, exclusive access packages, premium tours. The business case writes itself. She won't do it, because some decisions can't be undone. Once those doors open to the public, they can never be closed again. The space transforms permanently from private to commercial, from sacred to spectacle. Riley has chosen differently. She's betting that Graceland's power comes partly from what it withholds, that Elvis remains more compelling because part of his world stays hidden. That respect sometimes means leaving things alone. Her vision is long-term. She's thinking about how Elvis will be understood 50 years from now, a century from now. She's building an archive that will outlast her, structured to serve future generations of researchers and fans. She's ensuring that when people study Elvis Presley in 2075, they'll have access to primary sources, contextual materials, and scholarly resources that reveal complexity rather than just mythology. But they still won't see his bedroom. They won't walk through the bathroom where he died. They won't touch the books on his nightstand or examine the styrofoam cup still sitting on his shelf. They won't visit the meditation garden where Elvis, Vernon Presley, and other family members rest in eternal peace. Those details belong to Elvis, to Lisa Marie's memory of her father, to Riley's inheritance of a legacy she never asked for but accepts completely. The upstairs remains what it's always been: a private space in a public life, a final refuge for a man who spent decades being watched by the world. And now, a testament to a family that understands some boundaries matter more than business. That's Riley's answer to what happens next. Graceland evolves, but the upstairs stays exactly where Elvis left it. Riley Keough stands at a crossroads most people will never face. She's the keeper of a legend that belongs to millions, yet guards a space meant for one. The upstairs of Graceland will remain sealed, not because of what it hides, but because of what it protects. A father's last mourning, a daughter's safest memory, a grandfather's final wish for privacy in a life that had none. Every year, over 500,000 people walk through Graceland, hoping to get closer to understanding Elvis Presley. What they do not realize is that the locked door at the top of those stairs tells them everything they need to know. Some spaces are not meant to be crossed, some stories are not meant to be finished, and some legacies are honored best by what we choose not to reveal. Riley has made her choice clear. She will preserve, protect, and carry forward what 3 generations of Presley women have safeguarded. The upstairs stays closed. The mystery remains. And somewhere in those untouched rooms, a pair of blue slippers still sits exactly where Elvis left them 47 years ago, waiting for no one.